The scent of grease and iron still clung to my coveralls as I turned into my driveway. 12 hours at the shop had wrung me out, and all I wanted was to lay eyes on my baby, my 1967 Camaro SS. 18 months ago she was a rotted carcass, now she was flawless. I tapped the garage remote, the door moaned upward, and there it was, chrome so bright it could sear your retinas, paint so deep it looked like molten sunlight poured over steel. Then everything detonated. A shriek sliced the quiet. Call 911. He's stealing my car. Brenda, my neighbor and HOA president, came charging across the grass like she owned the block. Phone glued to her ear, she said, "Yes. I'm watching a black man take my Camaro right now, hurry." Sirens were already swelling in the distance. She dialed before even speaking to me. I was standing in my own driveway, keys in my hand, staring at my own car and apparently about to get cuffed for stealing it. I'm Marcus. Third-generation mechanic. Grandpa taught Dad. Dad taught me. 60 years of keeping this town's engines alive. When my divorce rap last spring turns out not everyone finds grease under fingernails romantic, I scraped together what I had and bought a modest place in Willowbrook Estates. Perfect lawns, matching mailboxes, friendly community, or so the realtor said. The Camaro wasn't a sudden crisis buy. I found her at an estate sale 18 months ago, more rust than car, the kind of thing most folks would tow to the scrapyard for beer money. But under the decay, I saw an American heartbeat waiting to come back. I paid $3,200 and started resurrecting. Weekends blurred into months, a rebuilt 350 small block, a fresh turbo 400, every bushing and shock replaced. The paint alone ate for months, sanding, priming, wet sanding until the hugger orange finish could blind low-flying birds. I documented everything, every gasket, every bolt, thousands of photos for insurance, kept every receipt in a 3-ring binder that could anchor a boat. Coffee went cold on the bench while I lost myself in the meditation of making broken things right. Enter Brenda Wilson, the human embodiment of a homeowners association fever dream. She moved in 5 years ago and proclaimed herself queen. Realtor with a white BMW that gets detailed more often than most folks clean their ovens. Manicured nails, gravity-defying highlights, and a grin frostier than a walk-in freezer. 3 years running as HOA president, unopposed. Because who volunteers to be neighborhood hall monitor? Her favorite tool wasn't a wrench, it was paperwork. Trash cans out 12 minutes late. Violation. Fence post off by 1/8 of an inch. Violation. Mailbox font not on the sacred list. Violation. She once showed up with a ruler to measure my lawn because she swore it was taller than 2.5 inches. She said it with that synthetic smile, just maintaining standards. 2 weeks before the garage door fiasco, she marched over while I was bleeding brakes. My impact wrench apparently offended her sense of serenity. "Excuse me, there's a noise ordinance. No power tools after 6. I kept it civil. Wipe my hands. City code allows hobby work until 9. I can show you." Her smile went arctic. "We'll see about that. This level of industrial activity affects property values," she said, industrial like I was cooking meth, not restoring history. The day the powder keglet started with Brenda's monthly pool party spectacle. Saturday morning mimosas, stage laughter, curated lives. Through the garage wall I heard her voice glide above the chatter. "That's my new Camaro, just bought it in Phoenix for 45 grand. They ship next week." My socket wrench clanged onto concrete. She held up her phone, showing photos of a car identical to mine, soaking up ooze like she invented internal combustion. That afternoon I needed brake fluid. I fired up my girl and eased out. The 350's rumble rolled through the cul-de-sac like thunder, deep, clean, perfect. When I came back, Brenda was rooted in her driveway, arms crossed, face flushed, eyes drilling into my paint. I nodded. She didn't. She just stared, predator locked on prey. My bet. She stayed up late building a delusion brick by digital brick, convincing herself I'd somehow stolen the car she'd been bragging about. By morning, she'd evolved from annoying neighbor to a Karen with a mission. So when two patrol cars screeched into my driveway, lights strobing, I knew my evening was toast. 4 officers piled out like they were hitting a bank robbery. The veteran Rodriguez had kind eyes and the calm of someone who's seen every species of neighborhood wild. His partner Morgan looked like he did deadlifts with bumpers. Evening, sir. We got a report of a stolen vehicle at this address. I almost laughed. The stolen vehicle, officer. This is my house, my keys, my Camaro. That's like accusing me of stealing my own refrigerator. Brenda materialized like a poltergeist. Knuckles white around her phone. That's him. He stole my car. I paid $45,000 for that exact Camaro yesterday. Dad's voice in my head. Documentation. Beats desperation. Time to prove it. I opened my photo album. Progress shots from rust to resurrection. Rodriguez's eyebrows rose as he swiped. Engine install. Bodywork. Fresh interior. Serious craftsmanship. You do this professionally. Family trade, I said. Meanwhile, Brenda shoved printouts at them. Dealer stock photos with no VIN. No bill of sale, nothing but glossy paper and wishful thinking. Chen, another officer, asked Mom, do you have a purchase contract, wire receipt, dealer contact, anything showing this specific vehicle? Brenda's face went stop sign red. It's being processed. Classic cars take time. While she improvised, I went to the bench and brought over the binder, my mechanical Bible. Here's the DMV registration. In my name, this address, dated 18 months ago. VIN matches. Rodriguez traced the numbers with his flashlight beam. Everything lined up, dates, signatures, VIN. I flipped to insurance, agreed value coverage, restoration photos. Brenda sputtered. He forged it. He's probably part of some identity theft ring. I pulled the ace, a yellow legal sheet bill of sale handwritten by a 93-year-old widow, signed and dated. Eleanor Hutchinson estate sale. $3,200. Car sold as is. Her number, too. Rodriguez held it like buried treasure. Original bill of sale. Yup. She asked me to bring the car back when it was done. Silence dropped so hard I could hear sprinklers 3 houses over. Chen closed his notebook. Nam. He has a documented chain of ownership. What you've shown are internet photos, Rodriguez added. Also, filing a false police report is a misdemeanor. People do get charged. We're color drained, idiots. A misunderstanding. Car shopping is stressful. The officers headed out, but not before I caught Brenda staring at me through her window, calculating. Cold. This wasn't over. It was the end of round 1. Monday hit like a misfiring diesel. I shuffled to the mailbox in yesterday's clothes. Coffee in hand, only to find an HOA violation slithering in the stack. Notice of covenant. Violation, unauthorized commercial vehicle storage. They meant my work van. A completely normal Ford Transit with Rodriguez family auto on the side. $200 fine. 48-hour deadline. Signed by Brenda with a flourish like she'd just drafted a declaration of war. From the kitchen window I watched her power walk past my driveway, cutting glances at the van like it insulted her ancestors. Her jog loop now included 17 passes by my house. I counted. Here's what most folks don't realize about HOA covenants: they're contracts with teeth. My divorce lawyer taught me paper trails don't lie. I spent lunch at the county building combing records. Jackpot. I'd bought the van in 2017, 3 years before Willowbrook enacted its no commercial signage restriction in 2020. In plain English, I was grandfathered in. They couldn't retroactively apply the ban. I wrote a response that would have made my old man proud, attached proof, and hand-delivered it to the management office. The receptionist read it and whispered, "Oh dear. Mrs. Wilson is not going to like this." By Wednesday, my mailbox turned into Brenda's complaint factory. Fresh notices, oil stains on the driveway, a pressure wash monthly. Strong automotive odors from the garage. Apparently WD-40 is offensive now. And noise violations during hours that are absolutely legal. She was blanket bombing me with paperwork, hoping something would stick. Time to invest. I went full Big Brother on my own property for high-def cameras with night vision and cloud backup. Within days, the footage showed Brenda patrolling our fence line, snapping photos, and measuring distances with a fold-out yardstick like she was auditioning for CSI. I'd called -d-sac. Thursday evening, an emergency board meeting appeared in my mailbox at 4 p.m. for 7 p.m. That same night, barely legal notice, designed to kneecap any defense. I showed up expecting a kangaroo court. Instead, I got three middle-aged women around a folding table: Brenda, Clara, her apologetic lieutenant, and Janet, who mostly nodded like a dashboard bobblehead. "Where's the rest of the board?" I asked. Brenda's smile could preserve meat. "This is sufficient. Effective immediately. We're banning all automotive repair activities. Past violations, $500. I opened the PDF of the bylaws on my phone. Section 4.3 requires 7 days notice for voting matters. Section 4.7 says quorum is 5 board members. I count 3. That gives this all the authority of a book club. Clara's face pinked. "Well, this is just a preliminary of Section 2.9, I said. "Invalid meetings create personal liability for board members." Brenda's composure shattered. "You think you're clever coming into our neighborhood with your people and your activities. Dad's rule with bullies: stay calm, stick to facts, let them hang themselves with their own rope." "I'm a homeowner who reads the contract," I said. Novel concept. That night, neighbor Tom knocked on my door, sheepish, apologetic. "Most of us think she's lost it," he admitted. "Coffee tomorrow. We should talk." Friday, 7:15 a.m. The doorbell sang. Dave Martinez from City Code Enforcement stood on my porch with a clipboard and the 1,000-yard stare of a man who's seen too many neighbor feuds. "Anonymous complaint and licensed auto repair. Mind if I take a look?" I opened the garage. Morning light fell on pegboard walls arranged like a watchmaker's dream. Everything labeled. Everything spotless. The air smelled like metal polish and clean oil. Dave relaxed instantly. "This is cleaner than my service shop." He ran a finger across the bench. "No dust." "What's your work situation?" "Family shop. This is hobby only. Weekends, no customers." He scribbled notes, glanced at my engine hoist, then smiled. "Anonymous caller said illegal business. I see 0 commercial traffic. 0 client vehicles, 0 transactions. You're good." As he stepped into his truck, he paused. "Off the record. I've been to this neighborhood 4 times this month." Same voice. Different complaints. "Somebody needs a new hobby." Tom and I met for coffee. He brought screenshots. Brenda had started a neighborhood watch Facebook group overnight. Her opening post, photos of my van and garage, dressed up in the polite language of dog whistles. "Just trying to maintain our beautiful standards." 23 people joined in the first hour. Comments turned into a gladiator pit, some defending me, others hedging. Brenda deleting anything that didn't fit her story. Nothing enrages a suburb faster than obvious censorship. By afternoon, the group was fractured into camps: free speech versus property values, reality vs. rumor. But I had bigger problems. A certified letter landed in my box, a formal complaint to my insurance carrier claiming my garage was a fire hazard. She'd gone after my policy. Tuesday, my agent Bill swung by. He spent 10 minutes admiring the Camaro like it was a museum piece. Then he filled out his report. "Whoever filed this is trying to jam you up," he said. "Your safety setup exceeds commercial standards. Half the garages I see are extension cord nightmares. Yours is textbook." He left smiling, and later, his company sent Brenda a cease and desist for filing false claims. "Chest move," countered. Meanwhile, my cameras captured new patterns. Brenda's morning walks turned into reconnaissance, phone out, snapping angles along our property line, measuring setbacks, photographing drain lines. This wasn't random harassment, it was prep work. Sunday at 2:07 a.m., the motion alert pinged my phone. I scrubbed through the feed, and my coffee went cold. A hooded figure crept up my driveway and sprinkled shiny points across the concrete roofing nails. The gait was unmistakable, that urgent little quick step Brenda had when she was wound tight. I swept up to 12 nails before dawn and filed a report. Officer Morgan took it seriously. "Classic intimidation timeline," he said. "Document everything. These cases simmer, then pop." The next day, I noticed something else in the footage: Brenda pausing at the corner of my driveway to film the curb cut and measure the setback on my fence, then zooming in on my garage door seal. Military-grade surveillance for a backyard grudge. Midweek, an anonymous letter arrived: plain paper. "Block print, your kind doesn't belong here. Leave or it gets worse. No return address." The watermark matched the paper used for home notices. I'd learned enough from my divorce attorney to recognize printer signatures and stock patterns. I turned it over to Detective Martinez, who added it to a growing case file. Threatening letters qualify for hate crime enhancements, she said. Keep everything. Tom rallied a handful of neighbors, 6 households with their own Brenda stories. Mike, a lawyer, had been fined for unauthorized mailbox font. Sarah, an accountant, got dinged for unapproved flowers. Linda, a teacher, had a citation for a planter on the porch. Individual complaints get ignored, Tom said, stirring sugar like he was plotting a coup. Group action, whole different game. We started logging everything: dates, times, photos, badge numbers. Linda built standardized incident forms a principal would envy. Carlos, a contractor, advised on camera placements and lighting angles. Sarah organized the paper trail. I spent an afternoon in the county record's basement, a fluorescent cave that smelled like burnt coffee and old toner. 3 hours later, buried in corporate filings, I found Willowbrook's HOA financial statements and nearly fell out of my chair. Transactions to B&B Property Solutions, Undefined Consulting, payouts to Brenda's Best Gardens Landscaping no one had ever seen. Wilson and Associates Legal Services, coincidentally timed to her divorce. All 3 entities pointed to one address, 1247 Maple Lane, Brenda's house. A quick check of the state registry made it plain. B&D was Brenda's sole prop, created 6 months after she filed for divorce. Brenda's Best Gardens had been dissolved after doing exactly 0 projects. Wilson and Associates, her ex's firm. Our HOA president was siphoning the neighborhood fund like it was her personal ATM. But the twist that made my hands shake wasn't just the theft, it was the pattern. When we lined up complaint dates against home sales, a picture emerged. Targeted harassment gives forced below market sales, gives friendly investor buyers on speed dial, double commissions, kickbacks, churn. 3 families had bailed in the past year under pressure. Then I found the irony bomb. Brenda herself was in default, -20-3 grand and paid HOA dues to her own association, back taxes, attorney fees, foreclosure hearing in for weeks. Everything clicked. The desperation, the theatrics, the false reports. She was cornered, hunting for one last big commission before the bank took her castle. My car became the pretext to speed up her playbook. I copied everything. $17 in the courthouse copier felt like the best investment I'd ever made. I called Tom from the parking lot. You sitting down, because this flips the board. We turned Tom's garage into mission control. Coffee, motor oil, and the smell of momentum. Round the folding table, Sarah the forensic hawk, Mike the retired corporate shark, Linda the organizer, Carlos the code ninja. Sarah spread the statements like evidence bags. The embezzlement is loud and sloppy, she said. Mike added, fiduciary breach, personal liability, criminal exposure. Prosecutors will salivate. We decided to let Brenda think she was winning while the cage formed around her. Rope-a-dope. Keep my routines. She'd keep escalating. We'd keep collecting. Monday morning, 7 a.m. I watched through the blinds as Brenda paced her driveway on the phone, scanning the street like a lighthouse. Emergency board meeting tonight, she barked. We need legal protection. By noon, an emergency assessment letter hit mailboxes, $500 per household for defense against outside agitators. Translation, pay for her lawyers. What she didn't know, Tom had recorded her parking lot pep talk with Clara and Jeanette. They're digging into finances. We have to control the narrative. Clara whispered, maybe we should know. I built this community. If I have to leave, I'm not going alone. Mike listened to the audio and smiled, the kind of smile that says, open and shut. Midweek, the cameras caught a new low. 2:47 a.m., Brenda in dark yoga pants and a hoodie, creeping by my garage. She staged cheap oil containers behind the trash bin, still wearing price stickers, then stood directly under my motion floodlight for 15 full minutes, face crystal clear, BMW plate perfectly visible. The next day's code enforcement visit fizzled in seconds. Fresh motor oil isn't an environmental violation, the inspector said. Also, false reports carry penalties. Meanwhile, her Facebook group melted down, deleted comments, midnight rants about outside elements changing the neighborhood, and a 2 a.m. posts. So On the nose, our lawyer just screenshotted it and labeled it Exhibit. If you're still watching, smash that like button so this story gets in front of someone who needs it, because the next twist is where everything accelerates. And then a new envelope showed up in my mailbox, one that told me Brenda hadn't just picked the wrong fight. She'd set the fuse on her own downfall. The letter in my mailbox looked official at first, whole letterhead, bold type, but inside, just pure venom. No signature, no return address, only a single typed line: leave now. People like you don't belong here. The paper matched Brenda's notices exactly. Same watermark. Same printer stock. She hadn't even bothered to hide the trail. I scanned it, logged it, handed the copy straight to Detective Martinez. She flipped it over, nodded, and said, "Keep every scrap." Threatening letters changed this case from petty harassment to criminal intimidation, and that was the turning point. Brenda wasn't just irritating anymore, she was dangerous. By now, Tom's little coalition had grown legs. 6 households, each with their own Brenda horror stories. We were done playing defense. Mike, the lawyer, spread whole bylaws across Tom's dining table. We filed formal recall petitions. That forces an election. Meanwhile, Sarah's audit proves embezzlement. And Marcus. Keep feeding the evidence pipeline. It wasn't just survival anymore. We were building a case to take down the queen bee. Meanwhile, Brenda was unraveling in public. Her Facebook neighborhood watch group had become a battlefield. Every time she posted another concerned update about my garage, half the neighborhood piled on. People dropped their own violation stories. She deleted comments, blocked neighbors, then posted rants at 3 a.m. about outsiders lowering property values. The meltdown escalated fast. One morning I found roofing nails scattered across my driveway, dozens of them, sharp side up. My cameras caught a hooded figure creeping at 11 a.m. Same quick, angry stride Brenda always had. I called it in. Officer Morgan came out, shook his head, and said, "Classic harassment escalation. Keep the footage rolling. Document everything." I was already doing just that. But Brenda wasn't slowing down. Monday morning, code enforcement showed up again. Anonymous tip about me running an illegal auto body business. The inspector took one look inside my spotless girls labeled shelves, fire extinguisher mounted. Floors cleaner than most kitchens, and actually laughed. "This is cleaner than our city fleet shop. You're fine." Strike 3 for Brenda. That same week, my insurance agent came by another anonymous report. This time, Brenda claimed my garage was a fire hazard. The agent admired my setup and said, "Marcus, you've got better fire prevention than half our clients." Then he leaned in and added, "By the way, filing false claims against a policyholder, that can get her in trouble, not you." For once, I actually smiled. Brenda was stacking charges against herself without realizing it. But the ugliest moment came with a new 911 call. Tuesday night, 2 cruisers rolled in. Lights off but urgent. Officers asked me to step outside. Brenda had called claiming I threatened her with a weapon in my driveway. Only problem, at the time of the alleged threat, I was elbow deep in a neighbor's transmission with 3 witnesses standing around drinking sodas. The officers looked at me, then at Brenda, who was screaming across the street about being in fear for her life. Officer Morgan cut her off. "Mom, this is your 4th false report in 2 weeks. Keep this up, and you'll be the one in cuffs." Her face twisted, but she couldn't argue. The paper trail was eating her alive. Meanwhile, Sarah's audit wrapped up. What she found made every jaw in our group drop. Brenda hadn't skimmed $78,000. She'd siphoned almost $96,000 out of the HOA account over 30 months. Fake landscaping bills, inflated consulting fees, payments to shell companies. Every check led back to her address. This wasn't mismanagement, it was theft. Plain and simple. The math didn't lie. Every family in Willowbrook had been robbed of nearly $3,000 each. And the kicker, Brenda herself hadn't paid dues in over a year. Her own house was heading for foreclosure. She wasn't protecting the neighborhood. She was bleeding it dry. Our coalition had proof, a strategy, and momentum. But Brenda, she was spiraling. The cameras caught her sneaking into my yard with spray paint and motor oil, staging fake environmental hazards. Inspectors saw right through it. She tried bribing a neighbor to stop helping me. He recorded the whole conversation. And then she broke into the HOA office. At 2:33 a.m., the cameras caught her unlocking the door with a stolen master key. She stuffed financial records into a shredder like a raccoon tearing at trash bags. The silent alarm tripped. Officers Rodriguez and Morgan arrived, weapons drawn, only to find Brenda ankle-deep in shredded paper. "Mom, step away from the shredder." Her reply, "You don't understand. They're destroying everything I built. I have to protect this community." That was it. Cuffs, Miranda writes. Charges stacked taller than her: overdue mortgage, fraud, embezzlement, harassment, filing false reports, evidence tampering. Her reign was collapsing in real time. 3 nights in county jail broke her for Wade. She begged Clara, her loyal sidekick, for help, promised her a cut of hidden cash if she'd clean out the garage before investigators got there. What Brenda didn't know. Clara recorded the whole conversation, crystal clear audio of Brenda confessing to theft and conspiracy while wearing an orange jumpsuit. Mike, our lawyer, nearly spat out his coffee. She just confessed in jail. This case is bulletproof now. By Thursday, we called a neighborhood meeting. The community center overflowed, people standing shoulder to shoulder, buzzing with months of pent-up frustration. Sarah projected the audit results: $112,000 stolen. Every face turned pale. Some shouted, some cried. When it came time to vote on removing Brenda, the result was unanimous. Not a single hand went up for her. By morning, the news vans arrived. Channel 7's headline read, "HOA president arrested in $112,000 fraud scheme." Front and center was Brenda's mugshot, paired with footage of her at the shredder. The reporters asked me for a comment. I kept it short. This isn't about revenge, it's about accountability. When people abuse authority, the community has to stand together. The clip went viral overnight. Hashtags trended. Neighbors from other states messaged us, sharing their own HOA horror stories. Brenda's empire wasn't just collapsing locally, it was crumbling nationwide. By the time her foreclosure hearing came, Brenda had lost everything. Her house sold for $70,000 under market value. Her real estate license was suspended. Her name had become shorthand for corruption, but she wasn't done embarrassing herself yet. At 3 a.m., she went live on Facebook, mascara running, sobbing about how she was the true victim. She actually said, "I was just trying to protect the community. Leaders have to make hard decisions." The comments section tore her apart. Neighbors unloaded years of anger in real time. The video was deleted by morning, but the screenshots were eternal. Brenda Wilson, self-styled Queen of Willowbrook, was dethroned. But as satisfying as the takedown was, the final chapter hadn't been written yet. The courtroom would have the last word. The day of sentencing felt less like a hearing and more like a finale to the most dramatic reality show in town. By 8 a.m., the courthouse parking lot was packed with neighbors who carpooled in like it was game day. People carried thermoses, lawn chairs, and a kind of nervous energy that buzzed through the autumn air. We weren't just here for justice. We were here to reclaim what had been stolen. Inside, the courtroom overflowed. Channel 7's cameras lined the back, lenses trained on Brenda, who shuffled and wearing county orange. The jumpsuit clashed violently with her salon blonde highlights. She looked smaller now, her usual sharp grin gone. Her shoulders slumped. This wasn't the Queen Bee of Willowbrook. This was someone cornered, deflated. Judge Hernandez presided with calm authority, but even she couldn't hide the tension in the room. When she asked for victim statements, I was the first to stand. "My name is Marcus," I began. 3 months ago, I was nearly arrested in my own driveway because my neighbor weaponized the police against me. But this was never just about a car. It was about power, about abuse, about neighbors made to live in fear in their own homes. I described the false reports, the harassment, the intimidation, but mostly, I talked about peace, how Brenda had stolen the community's sense of safety. Others followed. Tom, the postal worker, spoke with quiet strength. Sarah laid out the financial evidence like a surgeon cutting to the truth. Linda described the way students and children had seen their parents bullied. Every statement added weight. and every word piled on top of Brenda like bricks she could never shake off. Then it was her turn. Her attorney tried spinning excuses: stress, divorce, mental health struggles, but the courtroom wasn't buying it. Finally, Brenda stood, crocodile tears smeared with tissue. "I never meant to hurt anyone," she said, sobbing. "I only wanted to protect our community. Leadership requires difficult decisions." The collective eye roll from the audience was almost audible. Even her lawyer looked like he wanted to disappear under the table. Judge Hernandez leaned forward, voice steady and sharp. "Ms. Wilson, in 3 decades on this bench, I have rarely seen such systematic abuse of power. You stole from the very people who trusted you. You filed false reports that could have led to tragedy. And you destroyed the peace of an entire neighborhood." Her gavel dropped like thunder. The sentence: 4 years in state prison. $112,000 restitution. 5 years probation after release. The room erupted. Neighbors clapped, cheered, some even cried. As deputies led Brenda away in shackles, she finally turned to look at us. No remorse, no apology, just raw hatred, the kind that comes from someone who can't accept they lost. But it didn't matter anymore. She was gone, outside. The media swarmed us. Reporters asked what advice I'd give other homeowners facing HOA abuse. Kept it short, because sometimes fewer words hit harder. Document everything. Build community. Truth wins. That 6-word line went viral, spreading across whole groups, forums, even news shows. People started calling it the Willowbrook Rule. And in that moment, I realized our fight wasn't just for us, it was for anyone who'd ever been bullied by someone hiding behind authority. 6 months later, Willowbrook Estates was unrecognizable in the best way. Instead of walking on eggshells, people waved across lawns. Saturday mornings smelled like barbecue and sounded like kids playing. The new board, Tom as president, Sarah as treasurer, Mike as legal counsel, brought real transparency. Monthly reports posted online, meetings announced in advance, violations required actual photos and fair timelines. It was common sense, something Brenda had never practiced. The community garden bloomed behind the clubhouse. Linda ran it like a general, scheduling planting days, organizing watering crews. Neighbors who barely spoke before now shared tomato seedlings and laughter. Property values shot up 15%, proof that honesty builds more value than harassment ever could. Restitution checks started arriving, spread across the year. Each household got their share of the stolen money plus interest. Watching neighbors pay off credit cards, fund vacations, or even just breathe easier, it felt like real repair. And there was poetry in knowing that every dollar came from Brenda's prison wages and seized assets. She wasn't living like a queen anymore. Clara told us Brenda worked laundry detail in state prison for 60 cents an hour. Gone were the days of manicured nails and power trips. Meanwhile, our story spread farther than Willowbrook. Local film students turned the saga into a documentary called Garage Door Justice, an American Story. It won a regional award and got picked up for national release. The royalties, we used them to fund the Willowbrook Automotive Scholarship paid for entirely by Brenda's restitution. Teenagers who love cars could now study mechanics debt-free. Diego, Linda's nephew, was the first graduate. Watching him cross that stage in his cap and gown, that was worth more than every car show trophy I'd ever won. Personally, life shifted too. Sarah and I started dating quietly. Turns out mechanics and accountants have more in common than you'd think. She liked engines. I liked spreadsheets once they proved Brenda was guilty. Balance. Right. The Camaro that started all of this became a legend. Magazines called it the car that defeated HOA Karen. People offered insane money to buy it, but I never considered selling. Some symbols aren't for sale. Every Sunday, I still drove to car shows. Only difference: now I brought neighborhood kids who wanted to learn. Teaching Carlos Jr. how to gap spark plugs while his dad watched with pride. That was my new prize. The fight had given me something unexpected, a reason to pass knowledge on. Our case even sparked law changes. The state passed the Willowbrook Act, requiring annual audits for HOA letters with budgets over $50,000. No more unchecked dictators. Mike spoke at conferences, Community organizers used our documentation methods as training tools. What we survived was now a blueprint for others to fight back. Emails flooded in from across the country. Veterans, single parents, retirees all facing their own Brendas. Our story gave them courage to push back. And here at home, we celebrated with block parties, monthly, food, laughter, real friendship, the kind of community Willowbrook was supposed to be all along. Neighbors who once whispered behind closed doors now danced in driveways. Kids played tag. Adults swapped recipes and repair tips. We weren't just neighbors anymore. We were family forged in fire. And every time I opened my garage and smelled that familiar mix of oil and steel, I remembered where it started. One neighbor, one false call, one Camaro that became more than just a car. Justice doesn't always arrive on time. But when it does, it's loud. So to anyone watching this right now, don't let bullies win. Document. Organize. Stand together. Drop your whole nightmare stories in the comments. Who knows, your story might be the next one we share. And don't forget, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you won't miss the next HOA drama. Because trust me, there's always another Brenda out there. 6 months later, life in Willowbrook didn't just go back to normal, it became better than ever. Instead of fear, there was trust. Instead of complaints, there was laughter. Saturday mornings smelled like barbecues again. Kids' laughter bounced between houses. And the constant tension Brenda had created was gone like smoke blown away by the wind. Our new whole board set a new tone from day one. Tom as president, Sarah as treasurer, and Mike handling legal. They did something radical. They used transparency and common sense. Financial reports were posted monthly online. Meetings were announced in advance. Any violation required photos and fair timelines. It wasn't tyranny. It was accountability. The community garden flourished where Brenda once threatened to cite people into oblivion. Linda ran it like a general, color-coded schedules, planting rotations, watering shifts, and seeing neighbors who once only nodded in passing now laughing while trading tomato seedlings. That was priceless. Property values jumped 15%. Turns out, people actually want to buy into neighborhoods that defeat corruption, not get crushed by it. Who knew? The restitution checks started rolling in too. Each family got back their stolen money plus interest. I watched people pay off bills, take long delayed vacations, and breathe again. For me, the best part wasn't the money. It was watching Brenda's ill-gotten gains turned into something good for the community she tried to destroy. She, meanwhile, wasn't enjoying queen status anymore. Clara kept tabs and told us Brenda was now folding prison laundry for 60 cents an hour, sharing space with actual criminals. The woman who once measured mailbox fonts was now learning how to survive behind bars. And our story didn't stay local. Film students made a documentary called Garage Door Justice, an American Story. It won awards and streamed nationwide. The royalties funded the Willowbrook Automotive Scholarship paid for by Brenda's restitution. Teens who loved engines now had a path to school. Diego, Linda's nephew, became the first graduate. Watching him walk the stage in his cap and gown was better than any trophy. My Camaro, the car that started it all, was now famous in magazines. The car that defeated an HOA Karen, they called it. I had offers to sell for ridiculous amounts. But no. Some cars aren't just steel and paint. Some cars are symbols. And mine had become a banner of resistance. Every Sunday, I drove to car shows, but now I brought kids from the neighborhood. I taught them about spark plugs, timing, patience, and pride. Watching Carlos Jr. adjust valve clearances while his dad looked on with pride that was worth more than cash. The ripple effect grew bigger. Our case was cited in other states. Mike spoke at law conferences about HOA fraud. Sarah's audit methods were taught in workshops. Even lawmakers noticed. The Willowbrook Act passed, requiring HOA letters with budgets over $50,000 to undergo annual audits. No more unchecked power. Emails poured in from Phoenix, Dallas, Denver homeowners facing their own Brendas. Our fight gave them courage. I even started consulting with other neighborhoods for free, teaching the same strategies we used: documentation, community, persistence. Our small suburb had become a model for resistance. Block parties became a monthly thing. People brought dishes, music, and stories. Kids played tag under streetlights while parents swapped grilling tips and gardening advice. It felt like what the suburbs were meant to be. Not control. Not fear, but neighbors choosing to look out for each other. Sometimes, I'd stand in my garage, smell the mix of oil and steel, and remember how it began. One false phone call, one Camaro, one stubborn mechanic who refused to bow down. Justice doesn't always come quickly, but when it does, it roars louder than any engine. So if you're watching this, and you're living under your own brand, remember truth has a way of winning. Drop your whole nightmare stories in the comments below. Someone out there might need to hear it. And don't forget, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and tap the bell icon so you don't miss the next HOA Karen meltdown we cover. From all of us here at HOA Stories, thank you for watching. If you loved seeing neighbors stand their ground and karma finally deliver, stick with us. Next week, Karen tries to steal a veteran's service dog and learns about federal crimes the hard way.